Hello, hello, hello. It is your boy, Reverend Phoenix Coffin Williams, and I am coming to you from the beautiful Capital District today. I am in my hometown doing a little visit, and so that's where I'm broadcasting from today. And so right now, I am in the hood, and you could hear like music is blasting in the background. Um, People starting to party. It's a nice little Friday already, 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Eastern time. Oh, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you are in the world. Today, I'm actually going to, let's see if I could give this a little switch over. I might be able to switch my camera over, but then again, I might not be able to, so we will see. Uh, nope, doesn't look like it. Alright, so I won't switch my camera around, I'll just turn it around. But today, while I am in my hometown, I did just want to take a moment and share with y'all the cemetery that I grew up in, the cemetery that I grew up practicing magic in, the cemetery that I grew up burying my spells in. This is the cemetery that I really came to practice my witchcraft when I was growing up. Now, interestingly enough, like you could see, there are people and houses that live just like right here on the border of the cemetery. Well, when I was younger, back in the day, before I graduated high school and before I left town to go to undergrad and graduate school and all that, I used to live in one of these apartments with my family that bordered the cemetery. And so did two of my aunties. They occupied an apartment, an upstairs, downstairs apartment. They occupied the upstairs and the downstairs across the street from me on the other side of the street. So we both had like the two houses, apartments that were like at either side of the gates of the cemetery on that particular entrance. So this entrance, this cemetery that I'm in, it has multiple entrances. The one that I just came through is actually on a completely different part of town or a completely different side of town than the entrance that I grew up on. But because this particular town is so small, you can actually make it around through many of the entrances in, like an hour, 2 hours time. You got to walk around a whole plot of land that's kind of like in the center of the city. Um, but aside from that, like you can get in many different places. But this is it, y'all. I mean, this is not it. There is so much more to this cemetery than I would be able to show you in a half hour's time. But this is it right here. This is one section of the cemetery that I grew up practicing my magic in. And there are some remarkably old headstones in this place. So this one's 1924. So 1920s, that was the Prohibition era in the United States. Their son, Wolcott, died in 1894. Was only 2 years old. So in this particular part of the cemetery that I'm in, um, there aren't particular markings like masonry or anything like that. And because of like the town and like the area, this area does have a lot of Revolutionary War history and very, very close to Saratoga. And those of y'all who are familiar with U.S. history know that George Washington was in Saratoga. The Revolution won a huge battle at that place. Saratoga is just footsteps from where I am right here in the Capital District. Um, and ooh, this little path right here, this takes you to another part of the cemetery. It is a different part from the part that we were just at, but we could take that little journey real quick. Let's see who we got here in the chat. Hello, hello. Alright, so somebody's got a name in here with a Greek letter. Maybe it's also Russian. That little backwards N thingy. I don't know how to say that. But hey, bro. Hey, back at you. To the person who came in from YouTube. Hey, hey, hey. How you doing? But purpose. Cemeteries. Very, very, very powerful place to do very, very deep, powerful magic and to start some very deep, powerful transformation. I like to think of cemeteries as the physical representation of the land of the dead, right? So in my mind, I'm in Hades right now. As soon as I step foot into the cemetery, I am in Hades, or I am in any of the underworlds that I might be wanting to explore, Ashler, what have you. But a cemetery is the entry place for me. And so any rivers or any lakes or any streams that run through a cemetery, that's underworld water. So I know that Hades had multiple rivers, not just the famous river Styx, but like there was also a river that would make you forget literally everything if you drank the water. Um, so if there's a cemetery that I come to and it happens to have some water running through it, then I would be glad to collect that water and use it for magic. Name that water for the specific river that I wanted it to be for. So if it was the river of forgetfulness, I would conjure the river of forgetfulness right in the cemetery, do the prayers, do the magic, do the work, leave the offerings, collect that water so I could take it back home with me. This right here, another trail that's kind of off the beaten path. It does lead somewhere where magic can be left to do what it needs to do overnight or to be buried in secret. And I remember back in the day when I was a youngie, like a little kiddo, walking around through here in middle school and high school. I used to bury so many bottle spells. So many bottle spells got hidden here. Um, but yeah, this is a place of power. When it comes to that work for anything that you might need, you can absolutely come to the cemetery to get it. So, for example, let's say that you wanted to come into the cemetery and collect some graveyard dirt for some of your workings. You come to your chosen gate of the cemetery. You leave your offering at the gate of the cemetery. You pour a libation at the gate of the cemetery. All of this happens at the gate before you even get to the grave that you want to go to. Oh, look, we're on a different path now. And we found a completely different grave that is away from all of the other places. So it kind of makes you wonder, what's up with Edward H. Wheeler, born September 21st, 1810, died December 10th, 1871. Anyway, um, the River Lethe was the one that made people forget. Thank you. Thank you, Kayleen and YouTube. That's the one. There was also Acheron, I think. I'm a little bit rusty on my Greek underworld. But look what happens here. People do hang out, have fires, do all kinds of things in this here cemetery. But again, back to doing work here. My suggestion is always going to be start your work with offerings and petitions to the gatekeeper. If you cannot find who the very first person buried in a particular cemetery is, by all means, stop at the front gate and leave your gatekeeper offerings there. It's the gatekeeper offerings that once accepted and once that relationship is, working, it is those gatekeeper offerings that keep you safe while you are in the cemetery. It is the one that gives you permission to do what you have to do while you are in the grounds spiritually. And it'll be the gatekeeper that works to keep any of those spiritual nasties off of you and away from you while you are in the process of doing what you got to do. Oh, a snake. Oh, you guys missed it. There was just a snake on the path. But yes, absolutely. Build that relationship with the gatekeeper first. You can pour some water there, leave some coins there, pour out a libation of some rum there, Kool-Aid, coffee, milk, cigarettes and tobacco, cannabis, apples, oranges, bananas, bread, tomatoes. You think anything you can think of. You give it with intention, you give it from your heart. The one thing that I will say about leaving offerings for the spiritual contingencies is don't don't jump out with it. Be legit with your offerings. If you consider that there is an offering or a gift or something that you know you would not like to receive, don't give that thing to your spirits. So for example, if you know that you hate coconut and somebody gives you a coconut cream pie as a gift, don't turn around and give that as a gift to your ancestors or to your spirits, right? You didn't want it. It wasn't good for you. Not with it. So don't do it to them. Now, if there are things that you covet, that you love, 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 and you get them as gifts or you come across them and you have them and you love them so much and then you turn around and give them to your ancestors or you give them to your spirits, well, that has phenomenal power. That is a sacrifice, giving over something that you really love and something that you really want to your spirits to support, elevate, and uplift them. That is absolutely a sacrifice. So think about that when you are crafting your offerings. They can be so much more powerful than a candle and a cup of water. Although, when you with the shit, a candle and a cup of water goes a remarkably long way. And when you have spirits who work hard for you, it's good to work hard for them back. So when they expand their blessings in your life, we expand our offerings and our sacrifices for them. So start off with that candle and that cup of water, and then the more they start to work and the more they get elevated, the more you start to stack on more luxurious items, the more you start to build up their shrines and their altars. But boom. So oh, look at this. That's a lake. That's right here. And here's a little path where you could get down a little close. I remember living off of this cemetery. You could hear the frogs at nighttime. You could hear the creatures that live in this little place at nighttime. Look at this, another aspect of the cemetery. This is a Union College plot. And as you can see, it is locked. Union College is kind of a big deal in this area. Union College was an institute that was on the verge of being Ivy League, but then unfortunately there was a financial scandal which really kind of knocked it out of the running forever. So it is a damn near Ivy League school here in the Capital District. And who tells or who knows what kind of folks are buried in that plot, because it is blocked off quite a bit. And you know me as a good boy, as a good citizen, I never made my way behind any locked gates or fences growing up. But anyway, back at it. Leave your offerings, start your relationship with the gatekeeper at the actual gravesite of the first person who was interned there, who was buried in the cemetery, or at the gates of the cemetery itself. Following that, you go ahead to, if it's a cemetery where your people are actually buried, if it's a cemetery where you've got relatives and ancestors, go head over to their graves, talk to them. Hey, grandma. Hey, grandpa. Hey, auntie. Hey, uncle. Hey, cousin. You can leave offerings on their headstones, or you can dig a little bit and leave offerings actually in the dirt for them. Oh, look at the fish in the water. You see them? One of the things that you might bury coins. You might bury a bunch of coins, a fistful of quarters, a fistful of dimes, whatever, what have you. to pay for a contract that you are having a spirit work through. Um, if you want to bury, a little bit of tobacco, you could bury that too. Um, but mostly, you bury your payments for the stuff that you're going to have the spirits do. You just take a little, what do you call it? A little garden trowel, a little garden spade or whatever. You dig a little hole and you take that hole out, you put stuff in it, and then you put it back up. And if you want to, you can water it and all that so it like resolidifies or what have you, and it is as undisturbed as possible. Or you don't have to. Libations for the spirits are poured directly into the earth, or directly onto their headstones. Food offerings are left up on top of their plot. Candles are left on top of the plot. Incense can be stuck, like the sticks, they can be stuck directly into the ground. When you come to do spirit work in the cemetery, I absolutely suggest that you bring a bell and you bring a whole box of matches. One, fun fact, spirits will flee from the smell of sulfur. Some witch lore says that the smell of burning sulfur reminds the spirits of hell. And so they will flee any place that is too similar to that dimension. So you're doing, and this is if you're doing spirit work in a cemetery, if you are in your home, if you are in a metaphysical shop, at the end of your very deep spiritual work, your invocations, feel free to strike a few matches when you are doing your banishings and when you are closing your space up. Aside from that, you can get powdered sulfur, you can get powdered brimstone, and you can pour that directly on a charcoal disc. It can ignite on a charcoal disc, and you can have a tiny blue flame form on top of that charcoal, so be careful. But you can put charcoal on top, you can put sulfur brimstone on top of a charcoal disc, and you can use that to sense your space to clean it and banish it from any negative and unwanted influences. You can combine that with, oh shit, it's a raccoon. Look at that. Look at the raccoon. It's definitely alive. I'm not gonna get too close. Yeah, it's a raccoon right there. But anyway, you could combine the sulfur with your lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram and clear your space that way. You see it right there? Chilling. Just chilling in the shade. But anyway, I hope you find that helpful. Let's check in with our first sponsor real quick. Thank you to Equinox Learning. Definitely glad that you here supporting us. So let us go ahead and check in with that sponsor real quick. All right. Thank you to Equinox Learning for your ongoing support. Love it for us. Let's see. There we go. So, thank you to Equinox. All right, in this part of the cemetery, there is no real like rhyme or reason for why the plot is set up like this. I've never figured it out. I do know that Clark is a family last name that is related to mine. My oldest living relative, her last name was Coffin, and then she got married. and it changed. And then her husband died. She got married again, and it changed to Clark. Um, so I have cousins right now who are alive today with the last name Clark, but I don't know if that particular Clark is related to them. But because of how small the town is, like, there's a really decent chance that the Clarks are all related to each other. This one right here is right. Nothing over on this side. Just the name and no dates. I find that interesting. But again, back to, let's see if we could find a, oh, that one says proper. Let's see if we could find a demo grave. All right, so we got Campbell. There's a whole family of Campbells here. We got the husband of Edith Campbell, William Campbell. We got Eleanor Mary Campbell over here in this area. So, like, we got this family of people right here. Let's say that the Campbells were my kin. They were my people. As a descendant and as a high priest of a tradition that highly, highly venerates ancestors. Oh, snap. This one also has the Freemason symbol. So, boom, let's say that the Campbells were my family, and as a descendant and a high priest, part of my work would be to maintain as many of my relatives as possible. So I would try to get my parents and my grandparents, any aunties who were buried in proximity. I would try to recruit my cousins, like, hey, on a regular basis, maybe every 3 months. So that's what, like 4 times a year, you know, one of us tries to get out and does a little something graveside. Clean up the grave a little bit, leave offerings, drop in some incense, say some prayers. Regular basis. Now, the family is going through turmoil. Maybe one of my relatives had a miscarriage. Maybe one of them had a fire and got burnt out of their house. Maybe, a few people got unemployed. Maybe a few of my cousins got locked up for something. But either way, there's turmoil happening in the family. I would go to their graves, to my ancestor graves. I would also recruit any cousins or relatives who are also maintaining the graves. And I would do prayer at the graves. I would dig a circle and I would drop in a bunch of money and I would drop in a piece of paper that had a contract written on it. Grandma Campbell, I need you to take a look out for cousin Marky Mark, cousin Lucius, and cousin Tiffany. They seem to be on a bad road right now, and only divine intervention seems to be the thing that will straighten them up. So I'm making you offerings of candles, of water, of rum, of coffee, of milk, of honey, of corn pudding, of bread pudding, of anything that I can get a hold of to please my ancestors, to feed them and strengthen them so that they have the power, the energy, and the influence to change the path of the family members who are in dire danger. That's one of the things that I would do. Uh, let's see. What you say? Somebody said something in the chat. Good night, Kayleen. I will catch you when you wake up. Thank you so much for being here and have a great night because it is like 3 o'clock in Australia. So thank you where you watching from. Um, but that's one of the things that I would do with the ancestral spirits. Let's say that I wanted a new job, a job that paid more, a job that had more benefits, a job that had more freedom. I, again, would go to the grave of a relative. I would dig a hole and I would put some money in there, some dimes, some nickels, some quarters, some 50-cent pieces. I would put as much of it as I could in there with the things that I was looking for. I am looking for a full-time job that is salaried at X thousand dollars a year with complete medical and dental benefits, and also includes a retirement plan that is matched by my employer, and they take out money regularly from my check to support it. And like that might be one of the things that I want. So I'll go to my ancestors, I will say my prayers, I will call any particular ancestor that was known for a phenomenal work ethic or who was known for a good hustle. And someone who was able to make money and stay employed or what. Like, I would go for the ancestor that was known for that. And I would petition them and I would leave them the offerings. There are many divinities who preside over the realm of the dead. Bewan Somdi, Maman Brigitte, Hades and Persephone, great examples. I want to say Oya is a cemetery divinity. Um, but when you are in the cemetery, you can also say your prayers to the cemetery divinities, the divinities that own the cemetery. And you can leave offerings for them in their realm at the same time as you are visiting your relatives as a way of supporting your relationship with divinities of the dead. Now, if you are someone who's afraid of what kind of death you might have, then sweetening that relationship with the deaf divinities will likely be something that is helpful for you and will bring you some comfort and some peace. If you get in good enough with the deaf divinities and the fates, you might even be allowed to petition them for the kind of death that you want. So if you don't want to go in a plane crash, but you do want to go horseback riding, build your relationship and see what your magic can bring you as far as helping you design your most ideal death. Because one of the things that was important to our ancient pagan ancestors was having a good death, which was something that you could have if you had a good life. So keep that in mind. I do want to thank everybody who came and had a watch today. Again, we are in the cemetery and we touched a little bit on building contracts with our ancestral spirits, the reason for going into the cemetery, what you do immediately upon arriving at the cemetery if you are looking to do magic there. The last thing that I do want to say, and it puts it on par with the slow building theme of these Fridays, is that strong relationships with your ancestors are also the relationships that help protect you and your life from some of the malicious spirits that do dwell in our pantheons and in our midst. Our ancestors do a great amount of work in protecting us from demons and trickster spirits. So keep that bond live, keep that bond alive, and notice the way that things start to happen differently, more powerfully for you when your ancestors are praying for you and praying for the same things for you that you are praying for. So maybe as a fun little activity, the next time you do your do a spell, next time you do an activity or an exercise, maybe call the name of your favorite ancestor that you can remember, a grandma, a grandpa, an auntie, an uncle, a cousin, a brother, a sister, what have you. Someone that you knew in life, that you had a decent relationship. Call their name out loud 3 times, ring a bell, light a candle, leave a shot glass full of water. And as you were chanting or as you were praying, imagine that your ancestor is standing right next to you with their hand on your right shoulder saying the exact same prayer, chant, or incantation. Have them do it with you. Y'all do it together and see how that augments your magic. That's my time for today. Thank you all so much for being here. And I will talk to y'all next time. And until next time, blessed be, okay?